Welcome back to the Enchanted Inkwell. I'm Michael.
I'm Britt.
And I'm Blake.
Thanks for joining us again. And today we're going to be talking about the D23 Lorcana panel specifically and kind of our thoughts on that and what we're excited about and what we're looking forward to. Blake, why don't you kick us off on some things that really stood out to you?
Right. So I think some of the bigger announcements are just moving forward with the Disney Lorcana challenges and what to expect after that, right? So they announced a European championship. They also announced the North American championship. There was a lot of speculation that that was going to be held on the same day. They're not. The European Championship will be at the Disneyland Paris Resort in December, and the North American Championship will be at the Disneyland Resort in January of 25. So I think that that's exciting that they've split them, especially since at least one person has already qualified for both of them.
Yep.
So they'll be able to, they'll be able to attend both of them. So I think that that's one aspect. And then we also know that it's going to feed into a World Championships, which will be sometime in 2025. I think we could expect that, right? April, May, if they take a month off, if not February. So that's cool. They announced the fact that the World Championship, or the winner of it all, is going to win a one-of-one Mickey.
Yep.
So I'm curious to see how that, what the value might end up on that. I'm not trying to speculate too much where that's going to be, but there are a lot of people that are thinking that this might be the most expensive. I don't think it will have, especially early on, I don't think it'll hold the same kind of value because, you know, that game is obviously has a much larger following than Lorcana at this point in time.
Fair.
But it could hold significant value. I also want to point out the fact that there is another sort of one-of-one card in Magic the Gathering. It's the 1996 World Champion.
Yeah, okay.
Right, but that doesn't have the same value as the one-of-one ring.
Right. It's the IP. It's the
absolutely.
flavor of it and all that good stuff.
It is the one ring. It makes perfect sense.
And so to talk about that from a one-of-one perspective, would you have liked to have seen a different character? Or do you think that it's just so iconically Disney to be?
I love the fact that you're asking me this question because it's I just have to say what I have to say.
Sure.
Which is it should have been Hey Hey, 100% Hey Hey. The fact that there isn't a Hey Hey Enchanted in every set is a little disappointing.
Got it. If we take the Blake goggles off.
Well, no, I think regardless of Blake goggles, if as the dev team, you have self-proclaimed that is your mascot, right?
This is true. You're an honorary dev.
If they're like, hey is our mascot, then why doesn't Hey get a little bit more love from a promotional side? Yeah,
you heard it here. I want a Hey Enchanted, and I'll take it in every set, or it could just be the set champs promo every time. I am team Hey.
We want World Champion 2 to be one-of-one Hey.
So one of one Hey. Blake is trying to buy that, no matter what, leveraging everything.
Probably
5 mortgages.
He's gonna sell your house to get it.
Yeah, I'll do whatever it takes, or maybe
that's how Blake catches a charge.
Maybe
it's gonna be. They were like, hey, we have this in a vault. We hold it with white gloves, and Blake's like, bet, Mission Impossible, let's go. Just you dangling from a ceiling trying to get the Hey.
Maybe the devs will be nice to me and they'll just create my own one-of-one enchanted Hey as a gift of saying, hey, we acknowledge your love of Hey and we respect that. So that would be really nice. But to go back to your actual question of a different character, I do think that would have been nice, right? There is this aspect that there are the 500 golden Mickeys, and there should be a 1 of 500 golden Mickey. I think changing it to a 1 of 1 you don't even have to put a number on it at that point in time if you just put World Champion on it, right? That changes it. But I think that they have sort of latched onto the fact that the BLT is kind of their inaugural art that they're pushing, which it's fantastic. Let's be fair, right?
Oh, love it. Yeah,
absolutely. The BLT art that is in the D23 set is amazing.
So pretty.
Yeah. So I can't knock them for not changing it from that perspective. I think from a variety perspective, it would have been nice, or allow the winner to choose their 1 of 1.
Ooh.
Like
That's
Oh,
like
that's
So maybe if they start
thought.
doing an invitational, they can, so as long as nobody else chooses Hey Hey, because that would,
well, you
That
just
would
got
make
to
it a-
win the invitational first.
You have to.
I don't think I'm that good, but I can try.
Not with that
Cue the training
attitude.
montage. Cue the copywritten music training montage.
Yeah, so I think that that's really cool. But in the same spectrum of promos and cards, the other really cool card that they previewed was an Enchanted Whole New World.
Beautiful.
Absolutely cool, which I think is interesting on multiple levels. One, obviously, everybody I think can enjoy it. And when I was watching the panel, the first question that I had was, well, is this going to come in the foil enchanted? Obviously, but is it also going to have a non-foil treatment like the Rapunzel and the Cinderella? And I believe they actually addressed that it does, that the competitors will be getting a foil version and the non-competitors or the attendees playing for other prizes could potentially obtain them.
I think they just said that there would be alternate ways to obtain it.
Okay.
I don't know if they got into specifics, or maybe you have more information than I do.
Running into Ryan Miller in the
Oh,
hallway. They're like,
we
here's
read
your
different
alternate.
articles
I'd
or
do it.
whatever. But to me, it alluded to like you may not necessarily have to attend the Continental Championships to be able to do it. Like maybe it's it's hypothetical right now, but maybe that's the next season DLC promo, right? The Rapunzel to the foil Rapunzel, the foil Cindy. That maybe it's that kind of relationship, or
It very well could be that way. I definitely got the opinion that the contestants who were actually in the tournaments would be getting foil versions,
Gotcha.
and that other people could get a non-foil version.
okay,
Which I fully agree with. I absolutely love the non-foil full like art enchanted. I love the non-foil versions of that. Not complaining about the foil versions, obviously, but there's something to me that really pops about the art that when it's not in a foil version. So the Rapunzel and the Cinderella, I think those look wonderful. Hopefully they'll do a Let It Go at some point in time that is in that same promo art, but not quite. Or maybe even a golden Mickey without the shiny, that would be cool concept as well. So I think that would be really fun. And I think a lot of people are really excited about it. The art for that was just amazing, right?
Yeah.
So
I think the Whole New World, the card right now, the art is a little lackluster for how, like the song as a whole is such a big song, right? And then you kind of get a zoomed out kind of like, I found it a little bit kind of understated.
I actually really like that version. I think
Okay.
I do understand the wide angle lens on it from that perspective, but I think it shows the whole picture, right? Like the
It's
idea
the
is,
scope of a magic carpet ride.
yeah, absolutely. You're flying over Agrabah with all these fireworks going on. I mean, if you could do that with Disney, like, why would you not, right?
No,
Like,
I understand like for some reason, and you know that I love the card and I love playing the card. When I looked at that art, I
Great
wanted
disappointment.
when I looked at that
my
art, I
detriment.
just wanted something else from it, and I don't know what it is. And it didn't, to use the graphic designer's most hated term, it didn't pop for me. it didn't grab my attention as some of the other cards did, and I don't know why it was, and I'm kind of sad about it. And I'm hoping maybe they release a legendary embossed version where something else kind of just gets highlighted or something. Oh wait, that's the promo.
It's literally you get the gelatin version of just like the portrait mode, like on the magic carpet.
Right,
Yeah.
There
you go.
That'd be great.
So all you have to do is get, if you carry the 20 million tickets
Okay.
at an attendee event. Good job. Good job.
I don't think it's actually the art that you're turned off. I think it's the fact that your opponent gets to draw 7 that really frustrates you with that card.
It's
no,
true.
he uses it offensively. He was like, pitch your hand. Be
Yeah,
prepared
but then
to.
you get to draw 7 more.
Yeah.
And I already draw an amethyst. I'm like, good. Fill my hand back up. Let's
So,
go.
not to dwell on this too much, but I think the other really interesting thing that I kind of pull from them doing this is that when they were looking at the idea of a band list, or now we know errata-ing, this was one of the top targets for a lot of people, probably including myself. And I think what makes this really interesting is that it really sort of provides evidence that they're not looking at errataing or banning this card if they're going to make it a promo for the next season. So don't want to harp on that too much, but
can we move my mic gain up? Hey, can we get a Be Prepared promo? Could we just have that reassurance, please?
It is such an iconic card in the game currently that it probably should have its own promo. I agree.
It's gonna get banned.
But to move to, a little bit forward on that, one of the other things that I think is really exciting about these championship tournaments is that there are going to be attendee badges. Mm-hmm. So you're going to be able to go and see either your favorite players, but then also attend and play in other events, which they did announce that there are also going to be last chance qualifiers, which I think is excellent. Because with the shortened time frame for putting this all together, I think if you can increase the pool of players to play at your championships and then your world championship, I think that only benefits the game. It increases the competition, everything about it really zings for me. Mm-hmm. And then the other aspect of that, which since this is such a community podcast, that I'm like really excited about, and major kudos to them, is that they were announcing Disney Lorcana Quest, mm-hmm. which were sort of these like side event multiplayer co-op play games, which is fantastic. Cool. No other game has this. So right. Cool. So you can go and play in a tournament with your friends, and you're not really playing, you're playing against other teams, mm-hmm. but you have a set of objectives that they also have a set of objectives. But at the end of the day, it's not like, GG's, I smashed you. It's we did great. They did good, right? They did great. And so you're not really, you're really just pushing yourself at that point in time to see if you can beat the other team's time. I have no idea what this is going to look like, right? But concept wise, absolutely fantastic. You can have almost a completely different series, right? You can have the competitive DLC series where people are playing the one-on-one matches and going through there. And you can have a team series where everybody's playing these co-op multiplayer. How awesome.
Well, and you see that a little bit in organized play for like TTRPGs, right? I haven't been in that space for a minute, but when I did, one of the things that was really fun to do would be go to cons and run specific modules that were written for that event. And I made memories with strangers and friends that I will always hold on to. And it was not competitive. It was collaborative. I am a sucker for collaborative stuff. I love it. Collaborative storytelling and co-op mode for the event. So you're 1,000% right and dialed in. We had a Deep Trouble co-op event at League one weekend. I don't know if you remember this, but we had, I think it was actually when you were on vacation. But we had little like community generated prizes where you would get, a button if you had defeated Ursula with your play group. And we have some friends who beat it on normal and then went, oh, we're going to do this on extreme. Like, do we only get the button if we do it in extreme? I was like, no, you get the button if you do it on easy. We're all here to have fun. But people love to like sit down and jam that out and like problem solve it together, and seeing everybody playing like hand up and around a table. It was literally the exact vibe that they were talking about in the panel of trying to create experiences with people through this game. And so to see that on the competitive scene, it's just such a great marriage between like the traditional competitive TCG player approach and the Disney family community approach married into this like important like cornerstone event for the game. Absolutely. So cool.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the things that really appeals to me, right? Being somebody who has years of competitive experience, this, for whatever reason, really speaks to me. And I think it's, again, kudos to them for coming up with this. I'm really excited to see where this leads and what it looks like. Because at the end of the day, being able to sort of reconfigure what the TCG space looks like. They already started with the, for lack of a better term, best of two that everybody was really skeptical about, right? Being able to do something completely different with the same game, I think is absolutely fantastic. And so, from a competitor's perspective, I'm actually really intrigued, but I'm also kind of curious from a competitor's perspective. How do you feel about this, Michael?
As our DLC expert,
The only
on
person
the
who
ground
has
correspondent.
Hey, I did just as well at the DLCs as you guys. I did not make day 2.
You
That-
made day 1.
Barely.
Fair enough.
You
Fair enough.
barely missed on a day 2.
Yeah.
I as a gamer in general, I really prefer co-op games or games with friends. I find it a lot. I used to really like load up Final Fantasy and the big RPGs and things like that, and I have tried to get into it, and I just find myself playing 50% of the game and then saying, okay, I'm kind of bored. There's nobody to share this with, right? In college, you had your roommates sitting around with you playing games and watching you. Like, oh, try this, jump over there, see what happens over there. And then...
Can I interrupt? Do
Yeah.
you do like TTRPGs? Do you do like collaborative storytelling games at all?
I haven't. I have not delved into that world yet. It was
It seems
was
so
like,
right up your alley.
It's just a jump that I never made.
So when we were
actually.
at the store on Saturday telling our lamenting, team trios story, he was staring at dice, and I was like, Michael, if you want to buy dice, you've got to join us for games. So
Well, there's
maybe
a
someday.
turnip throwing game that might be interesting.
Heck yeah,
that we
let's
were told
go.
about. No, but
were saying.
a lot of times now I'll play a game and just kind of get bored in 15 minutes. But if my friend calls me up and says, "Hey, it's time to hop on," I'll be on for hours with them, and that just comes from being a naturally extroverted. I get social battery from hanging out with people, talking with people, going out to dinner, all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of hand in hand. So I think the co-op side of things is actually really neat because it potentially, not that we know what the format is, but it potentially lets me bring in some of my other friends into this space that might not be as skilled card game players or
Sure.
people who are interested in the game and say, hey, let's do this thing together. Like, you don't need to feel bad that I have X more experience than you, that I'm gonna beat you all the time, that my deck is tuned a certain way to beat your deck, right? We're in this together. And I really think that aspect is a unique side of things that hasn't been explored fully from that perspective yet.
Right. And I agree with that, especially coming from, people that we literally, the only event we did for release weekend was a team 3v3.
Yeah.
Right. So there's obviously a need for people being able to play together and play together collaboratively. And I think that they're meeting that, which again, kind of blows my mind. I think it's wonderful. Another aspect of this, and I'm not sure details wise, we know that they announced cards that are going to have a space for a signature. So you can go into the park, you can meet the character,
Yeah.
and you can get that signed. And I think one of the things that was interesting, I don't think it was intended to be this way, but I liked the idea that this might actually be part of the quest or the co-op play adventure, where it's like, okay, so now you've got to meet this task in the game now, and then there's like a scavenger hunt for going and seeing if maybe you can find a character signature. I mean, I know that there's a lot of like other implications, right? Like park pass, etc.
Sure. Yeah.
I think Britt, you had brought up the fact that it could the dynamic of how just even being able to see, to like take a picture of a character or with a character or get a signature, right? There's lines that form just to be able to meet those characters in the park. So it
Yeah.
could change that. If you want to expand on that a little
Oh,
bit.
yeah, definitely. So I think that it's an interesting. So one of the things that they talked about in the panel was the relationship between the Imagineering team and the Ravs team where they were like, hey, let's like take a meeting in the park and Ryan was like, let's go. And I was like, where was my invite? But
You already got to D23. Come on. Come on. Let's pump the brakes on these asks. You're blowing all your Santa asks right now.
No, not my. No, this was on the panel. This is what they were talking about on the panel, and we literally saw it because when we were in the parks, over the week of it, I think we were there before D23 started, and literally saw Ryan in passing, like handing packs out in the parks, and they like missed him. It was too crowded in Adventureland kind of thing, and the relationship between Lorcana and the parks is a very strong one. You can tell that those teams both care about that relationship between those two things. And they even acknowledged, they were like, people bring their collections to the park, and and we've talked about that. We have a friend who had another friend take a Pluto card and have it signed by a character because like Pluto's his guy. And I have wanted to do the same thing. There is an impact on park operations, right? So we know that anyone who is friends with a character learns how to sign that character signature in a really standard way. And whether you are, bringing kiddos to meet Tinkerbell, or whether you yourself want to meet Aurora, or whether you want a picture together, or whether, you're filming social media content, all of those people go into a queue, and there's like autograph books. Sometimes people aren't even able to get autographs because of like time constraints and things like that. And so now you have the added layer of specific autograph cards, which are so cool. I love that idea so much. What is the impact going to be on park operations and park employees? And then also, what does it mean from like an equity lens when you're talking about, we've talked a lot just in our couple of episodes about what it is like to live in Southern California and have access to these parks. Mm-hmm. But we have seen the map, and there is a lot of world out there that does not have a park in their backyard. So what does this mean for the portion of the community that doesn't have access to that in person? So what does that look like on the secondary market? What does it mean when everybody loves sending in like PSA graded cards, or other grading companies and things like that? So what is the implication of this in the secondary market? It would be so cool. Wouldn't it be so cool to use it for artist signatures too? Because we've seen how awesome artist signings are at D23. So like, what if you have like Pluto sign it, and then you've got like the artist sign it on the other side? It's just such a cool alternate card style. So if we're not getting full art in packs, and I didn't see, or maybe I didn't retain, and maybe you can help me with this, the way that you acquire these autograph cards, are these going to be in pack, or they're going to be, I don't think we got clarity on that.
I don't believe they addressed that at all. So It'll be interesting to see. Maybe you have to go to the park and the character themselves have.
I was just about to say, like, what if they thought of the park operations thing and they streamlined it?
Yeah.
And they're like, no autograph books. We're not signing that, but here's a card that Pluto signed, right? Aww. Or instead of, maybe manufacturing the printed signing, they just have some characters sit there and, hey, during your break, can you sign 50 or 100 of these or whatever?
Sure.
And then the cast helper
sure.
or the character themselves can just be handing them out. And then that's another maybe customer acquisition method, right?
Yeah.
Now you have this card and you're like, oh, what is this? Like,
yeah.
I have a cool signature from Mickey, but also what is this thing?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Get people interested in the game.
Right.
Oh, I like that.
Right. Like a cross promotion type thing. Right.
Yeah. At this point in time, my only real concern is I don't think I've seen Hey Hey signing in the parks, and that would break my heart if I can't get his chicken scratch on my card.
Well, to be in Hey Hey's defense, those wings are not, holding a pen is very difficult for a chicken with anxiety. Yeah,
that's my guy. But I mean, if I could,
love it. If I could, I'll hold it in his hand for him.
I mean, I guess the next best would be to have Alan Tudyk sign my Hey Hey's. That would be an
Life
absolute
goal.
dream. Yeah, life goal.
Absolute
So
life
Alan
goal.
Tiddick, we know you're listening. If you could please,
I'm gonna drop a PO box
Yeah.
in the description if you could get
yeah,
on
just
that.
shoot us your PO box,
Oh,
and we'll
yeah.
send you.
We'll send you the cards and then and a Sharpie. Honestly, it'll be great. No, I fully agree. So I'm super excited. But then also, my little squishy heart is like, how do we make this fair? And from everything that we've seen, I don't think like an exclusive mindset exists.
No,
well-
and I think I do know how. Well, I mean, we obviously can't solve the world's problems, right? But we can always invite a lot
Therapist
more.
Blake.
We can
Thank
always
you.
invite a lot more people into our community.
Yes.
And maybe we can try and help people, since again we have a pretty large community as it
Yes.
is. And I think it would be exciting to be able to provide other people, viewers, community members, with these cards that maybe they don't have access to.
And this is where
Do you
we
charge
pitch.
the Michael Mouse tax?
Only for you.
Only the Michael Mouse tax is very specific. I guess you could get out of the Michael Mouse tax
Okay.
if you were in the park getting signatures,
Okay,
because you got to do the work.
got it.
You
I
gotta
see.
do
Your
the work.
volunteer shift.
I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
shifts, plural.
Shifts,
Oh,
plural.
I
Not
see.
every 2 years.
Is it a volunteer shift or a voluntold shift?
Yes.
It's a Michael Mouse tax shift.
And this is going to be like the most mild cross promotion to socials ever, but they exist. They're in the description of our video. Hopefully, there's a degree of this that's evergreen. If you click on it and engage with it, and if there's ever anything we can do to invite people to be in part of our community.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
mean,
great way
like,
to get in touch with
I don't
us.
want to open the floodgates, but if there's something, right? Oh, I haven't visited the parks in 20 years, and I would really love it if I could get something. Right?
I'm not offering. I'm offering to send your collection to strangers.
Okay.
Yeah?
No, sick.
Okay.
No, I meant I just meant
Sick.
I just meant if they hit us up at the PO box with their Enchanted, we'll get it signed for them. And
Please
then,
don't do that. Please don't send us anything of value. Commons and uncommons only.
Definitely don't send Michael anything of value.
It's not true. He's great.
Part of what makes this community really good is the trust factor. Again,
1,000%.
we talked about it at some point in time. Yeah, the fact that we can trust each other. I could literally hand my wallet off to either of you and be perfectly fine with that. Comfortable.
That's how I pay the Michael Mouse tax.
So,
No, it's just a never-ending Venmo cycle.
Right.
It truly is.
but I do really enjoy this fact. I don't know what the time frame on getting this out to the public is, but I think from just a community aspect, from a collector aspect, from excited about Lorcana aspect, having cards that you can get signed that have a spot, it makes them more unique in that sense. And I think that that's fun, right? This is your card that you got signed by Donald Duck, right?
Right. And I am an enthusiastic Disney adult, but there's also like something about me where I look in the eyes of a character, like a face character, and I'm like, we're both adults here. Friend of Aurora. But also, I really want like an Aurora signed card. So I think I would get over like my social anxiety of being like, hey, sorry to like bother you at your job. Make you do like, well, even though they're like, my job is Disney magic. I'm like, I have social anxiety. I'm sorry. Like I don't want to impose. I don't want to take a spot in the line away from a kid who's having like Disney magic. But I will get in line for an Aurora signature or a Mal.
And I think that that's what they want.
Yes,
Right?
1,000%.
And that's the thing. At the end of the day, I feel like that panel, they discussed so much of what's coming in Lorcana, but we got that insight again and again that the magic, the Disney magic, they
Absolutely.
really want to reinforce the wonder of it all, the beauty of why probably most of us got into the game, with the IP itself, and just being like, hey, we love Disney, and this invokes all those feelings that Disneyland, that the Disney movies, that everything gives us. And I think that the Ravs team does a very, very strong job of trying to keep that cohesion and ensuring that, hey, everything that we do, we want it to be magical.
And it really does. It really
I
does. I
agree.
think that's one of the things, we don't talk about it. Nobody, a lot of people don't admit it, but when they say it's the happiest place on earth, it is, there is something, you cross that threshold, you get into that gate and you feel like a kid again. Like no stress, no bills, right? No paying off the credit cards because you bought too much Lorcana, right?
What?
Like
Who would do that?
You feel
That's
wonderful.
tomorrow me's problem.
And you start trying to think.
It's like 6 months for me now, or 6 months problem.
Right.
Yeah.
You start trying to think, well, what am I going to do now? What ride are we riding first? Am I getting a churro? Right. Like,
Yes.
So now you have one extra thing that you're, am I looking for a signature? I'm looking for a signature. Let's go. Right.
And that is one thing too. As I've grown older, the characters have kind of been a lower priority. A meet and greet for the characters have kind of been a lesser priority, but it's always fun. And the card signing, the autograph card might bring me back into it and say, hey, like I gotta go see a character. Like we're here, reinvigorate that spirit and be like, hey,
Yep.
I gotta go see Pluto today because I gotta get that one.
Right.
Could you imagine a mob of like 8 of us and our Lorcana binders going around the park? And we're like, Pluto, hey, I got a Sharpie. Can you help me? Like,
Well, that
so cute. I
that
love
pin
this
trader
idea.
section outside of Frontierlands is about to become a Lorcana trader section.
I was gonna say, so part of the things that I thought, and I didn't want to interrupt or derail us, is, and I know that like pin trading has had its own logistical issues in the park where they've also limited like how much you can do in the park. I would so love, and maybe like we just have to manifest it and make it happen, or maybe it is happening and I just don't have visibility of it. Like the opportunity to do that in the park with Lorcana on a bigger level would be so cool. Meet new people, new friends. Let's go.
So I think it is a possibility, right? They already have theme nights. They could literally do a theme night for Lorcana. But I actually want to go back to the signature thing again and just sort of add an extra level of Enchanted. Can you imagine if it was The Rock signing as Maui in the park?
I would freak.
Oh man.
Right. So it's just opening up the window at all to having these like specifically signable cards. And then we have friends who run Enchanted. Like max rarity is a thing in other TCGs, and they have brought that energy into Lorcana. How like who can get the best signature? I can see the guys competing for like the coolest autograph card or something like that.
But that's the thing. They're not competing.
Not competing.
It's
but
actually
like
really
chasing together.
Yeah, that group is really fun because they're literally they're pushing each other to do more, but there's no animosity, there's no competition.
No.
It's
It's a
literally
celebration.
just like it is
Yeah.
a celebration, and it's wonderful to watch them. It's fun.
It is. And they celebrate I'm even like, I'm a baby slime. And they're like, foils count, let's go. And it's just max hype across the board. It's so fun.
Well, I mean, you kind of broached the subject. We won't go into it too much, but since you did say the word, so they call themselves the Slimes.
They do.
So
They do.
And their wallets suffer from being in this,
well,
right?
We have a robust trading relationship.
It's a wild one-up game. It's just, it's hey, I got this, and it's like, well, I got this, and then I got this, and then everybody's wallet is just
Everybody together. I don't think it's one-upsmanship as much as it is like everybody in a club together.
It's not It's not a malicious one-up.
No.
It is hey,
Feeding.
I got this. Now what? Like your move, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I actually disagree. There's no one-upsmanship about it. They are a group that is literally just encouraging each other. And when one person gets another Enchanted to put to their deck, they all celebrate.
Right. Yeah.
There's no real competition. It's just them all living their best life and
right.
getting.
Okay.
These
Yeah. That's fair. But it's just
adult kids.
Yeah.
Just
So they're
grown-up
sliming
kids.
out.
I
It's
love
like
them.
it's like that saying "steel sharpens steel," but like slime
Sharpens
slime makes slime
slimes?
slimier. I like.
Yeah.
We're gonna workshop that one. It'll be great. Well,
but yeah, they just keep pushing each other to just get more slime in their deck, and it's crazy. Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about this. We have other content scheduled for like collections and stuff like that. But spoiler alert. Whatever. I'm going to be wearing the same shirt in both episodes. We're recording them the same day. I just got a bunch of new slime, and I'm just like, order, so
Right.
excited.
Which is one of those, and this is what makes that whole group within our community very interesting, is because it started with one guy, really, right? And he's like, "Yep, I'm playing the Enchanteds," and then
It was
somebody,
psychological warfare.
yeah, and then somebody else was like, "Yeah, I like that. I'm going to do it," and then it just kind of spread, and then it spreads to people you wouldn't have expected it to spread to.
That was what was shocking to me too.
Yes.
Where you can, I mean, I feel like when you walk into a room, you can kind of see like, okay, I expect that person to be playing max rarity, or I expect that person to slime. And like some of these people in that community that have come out to be slimes, I was not expecting. It was
me. I gave away so many foils in the beginning. People are like, "You want that?" I was like, I have one. What am I going to do with this? No, take it. I'm going to, I'm looking for staples and stuff like that. Now I'm going through it. I'm like, damn. How many one jump ahead foils did I give out? I'm like, dummy.
And that's the only reason I have been able to resist this so far, is because I am incapable of playing things that aren't uniform. And so if my card is, if I'm going to run an enchanted, it's got to be 60 enchanteds. There's got to be a printing of 60
I
enchanteds.
just saw that list.
Or
I got
60,
you.
Or 60
You want to play
full
Amber?
arts. Like 60 full arts, or there's just got to be, whatever it is, they kind of got to be uniform.
Mm-hmm.
And so because that is unattainable right now, I've been able to protect my wallet from
They just,
from
Bestie,
going in the wrong direction.
Bestie, they just posted the deck list of all enchanteds. I'll tag you on it in Discord.
Well, and
It'll
then
be
there's
great.
also the other level, which is you could just foil it out, and that's accessible.
I love foiling. It's such a problem now.
Yeah,
Such a
but
problem.
I like foils. We won't go too much into it.
Sure.
I like foils. Again, I don't think they pop as much as I want them to.
Sure.
But with the new treatment, with the embossing and the legendaries, maybe we're going to get there. At some point, I will cave, and it will be a problem. But
Yeah.
but I'm not there yet, and I'm okay with that.
Well, you actually bring up a perfect segue, which is stuff coming up in the future and the innovations. Like, what are we excited for? You are an oracle, because I distinctly remember you going, "It's not a party without Chip and Dale."
That's true.
And look where we are now. Can
Yeah.
you manifest some other things into existence?
What do you
wanna-
want? I mean, what do you want me to manifest?
Enchanted
Coco.
hey.
Enchanted hay. Okay,
Enchanted
got
Tay-Tay.
it. Right.
I want you to manifest Coco,
Okay.
because we heard Pixar was going to come.
Right. So they announced Rescue Rangers
Yeah.
in set 6.
Yep.
And then they announced what was a Pocahontas and Black
so
Cauldron.
excited for
Right.
Pocahontas and Black Cauldron.
And then Pixar
Mm-hmm.
were the 4 that they've confirmed, full on confirmed.
Yep.
And Rescue Rangers is great.
Mm-hmm.
Chippendale is awesome. I'm gonna love to see them. I hope that they're playable. I hope that I get to run them.
Run them anyway.
Yeah, right. I do kind of just want classic Chippendale though,
Yeah.
right? Like, because there's something about Rescue Rangers that's like not quite the same thing.
You don't want the
But-
Detective Pikachuification of Chip and Dale cards.
I mean, I don't mind them. I think that they're still Chippendale.
Yeah.
But they're Chippendale doing a job, working.
But, right. You
want-
don't want to take them off task.
Right.
They've got performance reviews at the end of the quarter.
You want casual Chippendale who are just, there's just something about them
Just
that
detectives.
growing up that like, I don't know, something about the goofball of Dale resonated a
So
lot with
cute.
me, right?
Yeah.
And just that character. So I thought that was super fun. I think it's interesting. It makes sense to jump into Pixar.
Yeah.
I just feel like there's so many more Disney classics that they can use.
Oh, for sure,
And
for sure. Yeah.
It's kind of interesting because of like the IPs that we see already in. They briefly touched on, Great Mouse Detective. Like what, deep dark pull did they? Where did they get that one from? Right? Who was the dev that was like, nope, we're including this.
Yeah, they talked about that in the panel. I thought that was fascinating. And it's good to know that I am in synergy with the creators who they're like, Merlin's my guy. And I was like,
Right?
Merlin
Yeah,
is
yeah.
my guy now. He
Right.
wasn't before, but he is now. Like,
But yeah,
when it
Sword
comes
in
to
the
the cards.
Stone wasn't, it was not a super popular
Yeah.
that I can find,
But I
right?
think-
But they pulled that one out. They pulled
Yeah.
out Rescuers, right? They've got
They do
right?
Bianca and Bernard.
right,
Oh, my
but they
little
only
mice.
got featured in a couple of cards. So are
I
they
would
gonna
love
revisit? Like what's going
Rescuers
on?
Down Under. Heck
I
yeah.
really do hope they continue to revisit, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, we had spoken previously that my thing that really got me in was DuckTales and Moana
Right.
being that starter deck.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to see DuckTales revisited a lot more. You were discussing how you want Chip and Dale to be playable. Well, Huey, Dewey, and Louie with
Right.
support, right? Maybe not the
Not
best.
quite, right.
But it would be nice. But then there's also other aspects, right? There's Launchpad McQuack didn't show up, right?
Right.
The Beagle Boys, Ma Beagle, right? Like
Yeah.
there are other things within these television shows that I would really like to see. And I think a lot of people who remember that era of sort of that afternoon tune Disney, and I think they're leading to it, right? We had Tailspin and DuckTales come out, and then we're going to be getting Chip and Dale. So I think a lot of people are looking forward to, hopefully within the next few sets after Chip and Dale,
Yeah.
I'm just
Darkwing Duck,
curious,
right?
Right, yeah. I'm just kind of curious what. Maybe there's no rhyme or reason. It's like dartboards and or whatever. But
I think it's a love letter. I think it's a love letter to the IPs that the people who are making this game feel very strongly towards. But then also you have Disney, who has that level of approval and authorization where they're like, hey, we've got a strategic plan. Because Merlin was in Dreamlight Valley. I played a lot of, I don't know if you
okay.
played a lot of Dreamlight Valley, but Merlin is your guy. He is your person who is taking you through a lot of guidance on that. And I remember even being struck where I was like, huh, okay. But then his little wizard hut is the cutest thing in the entire world. He's really nostalgic and really thematic and really big personality, I think. So it makes sense to pick. But going back to Basil, I haven't watched Great Mouse Detective in a hot minute.
Right.
And there was definitely somebody on the dev team who was like, my hard pitch is Great Mouse Detective, and they went through the art development phase and all that kind of thing. But you're right, there are other things that maybe haven't had, they've leaned into princesses. Everybody, I say
Right.
everybody loves princesses. I love princesses. They did puppies. I'm trying to think of whatever.
I mean, they've
big
covered a
classic
lot
ones.
of IPs, right? And
Yeah.
and it's just the question of. I'm just curious to know how they landed on certain ones.
Me too.
Right? Because
I'd love to hear that.
As far as okay, sure, it's like a love letter to things that the developers like. So the developers will get to throw their weight around because this means X to them or this movie meant Y to them. But it would just be kind of interesting to say see who gets that say. Who, it's like, Blake, are you the lead developer? So you get to say, okay, well, or maybe even I don't have too much insight to the design, but is it, hey, we want to make a Pongo card. What is Pongo going to do? Or is it, we've made this card. It does this thing. What character should we put on it?
In the panel, they talked about that specifically with Rapunzel, right? Where they care very much about making sure that the mechanic of a card matches the spirit of the character.
Okay.
And so they were like, Rapunzel is a slam dunk example of this.
Right.
where-
I think that makes Rapunzel herself makes a lot of sense. But
Sure.
did they design the card first, the mechanics of Rapunzel first, and then said, okay, who fits in this theme of healing and whatever, or did they end up the other way around and saying, hey, we really want to design a Rapunzel card?
It Rapunzel fed into the Rapunzel card development because they gave Ryan a little bit of, they called what do they call Steve? Do they call Steve the Killer of Dreams or something like that, or the no fun guy? Because they were like, Ryan was like, I want Rapunzel to heal and draw you cards.
Okay.
And I think it was Steve that was like, drawing cards is really good. So not too many cards. And he was like, I think we got the right amount of cards. So what it leads me to believe is that in general, they go, how do we innovate based on the IP versus how do we find an IP to fit this card mechanic? Though, if you're developing the TCG as a whole, it is almost certain that there are cards that they identify as a need in the design space that then they're, like you were saying. So I'm sure it goes both ways, I guess, is the TLDR.
Yeah, right. I imagine it is, and it would be remiss to do one over the other.
Sure.
Most likely, they'd probably design themselves into a hole. But it would be cool to
A lot of parent issues in the TCG space.
It would just be. I
Missing.
guess it would be cool to be in the room where it happened, so to
gosh.
speak, right?
Yeah.
I'm not a huge. I'm not great at game theory and card design, but it would just be kind of fun to see how. Hey, we settled on this being Dale's ability, or
Yeah,
and
I want to
that-
hear more. I'd love to see more panels like that.
Yeah,
yeah.
that would be cool. What Blake? What would you be most excited aside from Enchanted Hey Hey?
Mm-hmm.
What IP would you see? Would you like to see come in?
I think for me, it's just expanding the DuckTales universe more.
So you
Real.
got your IP. You just want more.
It is pretty much. I don't want to say it was the single reason why I ended up starting to play Lorcana, but the fact that they did DuckTales and that just holds such a special place to me. Like I was not expecting that. So the fact that it came around, we discussed this in the past. Even my wife was like, "Oh no, like, this is happening full time."
Scrooge McDuck is featured here.
Yeah,
This is getting purchased.
absolutely. So for me, it's just expanding more on that world and that IP.
Yeah.
From there, we'll figure it out. But I really want to see more DuckTales personally.
Okay. That's fair. I appreciate it. I am an enjoyer of the Ducks as well. So I think it would be cool to see playable nephews.
Absolutely.
right?
Right. There's got to be
Like-
some mechanic or something that they can do that will work together. Because I understand the concept of, the three of them and then having support. It's just support. It doesn't do it. It doesn't do anything really at this point in time. So
Yeah,
it'd
fair.
be nice to have something a little bit more impactful on the game.
Yeah, I just think we need more Donald Duck legendaries. I don't feel like there's been enough in this game. Really, I don't.
Are you trying to catch a charge?
I think it's with you with the charge. I am sitting here innocently batting my doe eyes. I don't know what you're talking about.
Does Donald Duck have a legendary in every set right now?
Too many legendaries.
And are any of them playable?
The red one, right? I don't know.
Not specifically. As far as playable, the answer to playable is not specifically.
Okay.
The only one
Not-
that I
not
can't
new.
remember is, does he have one in set 2?
He haunts me. If he does, I have 7 copies of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I would give that energy to you if you could just spot me for a Coco set or something like that, like all the legendaries there. I will give you my Donald Duck
I can't
energy.
do it. All of my energy is clearly to Enchanted. So
He has
That's true.
He has no spare
true.
energy.
No spare energy.
I have no shame either. This has got to be a thing.
Yeah.
Enchanted, hey.
I mean, it has to come, right? As their dev mascot. Why have you not just forced your way into it?
Well, they talked about this a little bit too, right? So in the panel, they talked about how there was a specific version of Ariel that was like a dev favorite. They were like, this is my girl. This mechanic is my girl. Like, this is like my card that I want to have as Seiko to production. And they kicked it back a couple of sets where they were like, oh, it doesn't really work in this set. We'll put it in the next one. And I was like, well, it doesn't really fit in this one. And eventually got printed. So what I think is that they're just doing just a real good job getting him in the pipeline. Maybe like the art just needs to be tweaked a little bit more. Maybe they need to do like some more play testing. But I have full faith and confidence. Hey is on his way.
I mean, can we hold you to that?
That I have faith and confidence? Absolutely. That's a very low stakes thing. Whether or not it is ever delivered on, completely outside of my hands. So really, this is the thing that I prefer you to hold me to. Yeah.
Okay, on the faith and the confidence, but not the actual.
No,
contents?
no, not the ability to deliver in any way. Yeah.
Fair enough.
But I thought you knew Ryan personally.
No, I have unfortunately just stood on the sideline with a very enthusiastic thumbs up.
I'm definitely looking for hey, but I think The stuff that we've discussed this episode, it has been wonderful, right? Like, this is all positive developments. I don't think there's the panel itself. I don't think there was anything negative at all about it. It was just all good stuff coming down the line.
Yeah, I think there's just like some really exciting stuff coming, right? We've seen their organized play being fleshed out a little bit more. We see that their design is down the pilot line. I think the original announcement was, hey, we have 5 sets designed. We're ready to go. Now we're kind of entering the quote unquote unknown of what they haven't announced yet. And then now they've kind of given us spoilers. So I think that's really interesting too. What I found like kind of interesting, and we won't dwell on it too much, but the announcement of like, oh, Pixar's coming in 2026. Like, Pocahontas is coming end of 2025, right? So they're already 4 or 5 sets ahead that we just don't know, kind of what's going on yet.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. And it was a good point too that they made where they had announced Lorcana, because the D23 is held annually, but the location that it occurs at is every 2 years, right? So at the West Coast D23, they announced Lorcana 2 years ago, and then this year they were able to talk about the history over the last 2 years, from announcement to release last year to where they're at now, and it's 5 sets worth of content between the announcement of Lorcana at D23 2 years ago. And so what you're talking about is exactly a good point too. They're looking 2 years into the future. So when we're all sitting around this table talking about D23 in, what is it, like 2026, we're going to look back at all of this stuff that's happened since this conversation right now. And then,
I mean, Blake will be gone because he will have gotten his enchanted hey, and then he'll be like, my life is complete. And then he will just choose to leave the podcast on a high.
When he gets the one-on-one world champion, hey, and then he goes on his victory tour around the world. It's just gonna be you and me. We'll get you in there. We'll get you that hey.
I think it'll happen.
I know it will manifest. All right. Well, this was a great conversation. It was nice hanging out with you guys.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think that does it for this one. Next time, who knows what we'll be talking about, but thanks for tuning in.
We know what we're going to be talking about.
Oh, you guys know?
Yeah, we are.
We're going to be in the same clothes. We're filming
you
it
are.
right now.
I don't read the emails you send, Britt. I don't read them.
Oh, he didn't get that invite again. This excuse.
Your crip walking horse is in the shop still.
Yeah. So next time we're actually going to be talking about collection building, I think, for the most part.
Yeah.
Some storage aspects, how to go about collecting. And
yeah, you wanted another opportunity to rip me for the binder. You know what? Actually, I love this. I relish the opportunity to fight about binders versus boxes again. Let's go. I'm going to do some stretches in between the two, and I'll get in prime fighting shape.
All right. Well, until next episode, hopefully you keep your collections in your white cardboard boxes. Appreciate it.
Never mind.
Bye.
Bye.